Welcome back to the Balance Bully podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Nikita Renthigpen, always excited to be in the place with you. Listen, today we are holding space with a brilliant human who is not your typical business coach. She's a marketing and lead generation strategist, host of an award-winning podcast, and author of You, Me, and Anxiety. Take action over anxiety to enjoy being you. Let's welcome back to the Balance Bully podcast, Dr.Robyn Graham. Hello. What's going on with you today, ma'am?
Hello. You're so pretty in pink today.
Thank you. And we are definitely twinning it with the pink vibrations. I love it all day.
All day.
You were on our show April 28th. I'm almost sure. I want to say 21st, but it's the 28th of 2021. And I will make sure the link to that episode is down below. You talked about getting clarity and confidence about your business. And you can definitely speak to that because you've had variations in your career. You've had to go through variations of clarity stages, which I'm sure brought up variations of anxiety for you along the way so that you could create the business that reflects who you are in the hour of your being and you being yourself, which I think ties in so perfectly with the work that you're doing, the purpose work, as well as the book that you're doing. But I would love for you to just catch the audience up and all of our listeners who have been rocking with us since 2016. What's been going on with you and what led you to write this new story?
Oh, Nikita, your podcast has the word boldly in it. And I have to say that I have had some bold transitions in my career, right? I started with getting a doctorate in pharmacy, and it wasn't until my son was in 6th grade, he was about 12, and because I had had anxiety my whole entire life, I was able to recognize very quickly he was experiencing, these signs and symptoms of anxiety. And my husband and I decided that, it's time for us to step back a little bit. We were like two ships passing in the night, raising 3 kids, travel, sports, schools, all the stuff. And the anxiety level in our home was just escalating. And without a family support system, it was tough.
Yeah.
But when I saw those symptoms in my son, I thought, you know what, I can't let him experience the life journey that I've had with anxiety. And I decided to step back. And as you know, and as the listeners will discover, if they listen to the other episode, I decided to become a professional photographer so that I could be more hands-on. Mm-hmm. So I followed my passion and I created a really successful branding and headshot business and super fun. But what I realized in doing that was so many people felt trapped in what they were doing and they weren't, I should say, brave enough or taking bold action to step out of that corporate career because they were afraid and they weren't sure they had clarity on what they could do next. And on the branding side of things, people didn't understand how to build a solid foundation for their business so that they could have long-term success and really create an opportunity for limitless earning potential. And so from there, I became a brand strategist. And from there, I just kept going and got a master certification as a life coach and, one thing after another, because I am a helper at heart. And so that led me to where I am today. And that was part of when I wrote the book, was leaving photography and solely focusing on coaching and having a bigger, better impact, really transforming lives. When I wrote the book, it was really God calling me to write this book. It had been on my heart for a very long time and I kept it on the back burner. I'd write here and there, but one day I happened to meet a publisher and she loved my story and she loved my book idea and asked if we could work together. And I said, yes, let's go, let's do this. So I had that fire under me then to publish the book. But in the book, I share my journey with anxiety, and there's a teen book and there's an adult book for parents, because no one can navigate anxiety alone. Right. It takes a team approach, whether that team is your parent, if you're a teen, your partner, spouse, if you are an adult, or a therapist or psychologist, psychiatrist, or even potentially medication if it's necessary. So I wanted to tell this story so that people could recognize anxiety and then get the help they needed to navigate it. We can't just get over anxiety. And I'm sure you've heard people say that, well, just get over it. That's not possible.
No.
When you're struggling with a chemical imbalance or something genetically in your brain that just isn't allowing you to navigate the way the person next to you may be able to do. And so I wanted to put that out there to help other people not live in a facade, not feel squashed, be able to experience life and their purpose in a joyful, peaceful way.
Yeah, I love that. And it speaks to your own evolution, right? Like I believe we arrive at different places in our life and then we evolve and then we expand. And if we are privileged, the cycle repeats itself. You arrive at a new place, you evolve and you expand, and it's a constant. And you did that when you arrived in your doctorate of pharmacology, and then you evolved into photography and you expanded into coaching. And now you've arrived again at another point where you're taking the transforming of lives even deeper with helping people understand that when they are rocked by anxiety, there's another place where they can too evolve to and then expand and go. For the listeners who are listening and for those who have ever seen me on stage or speaking at a masterclass or whatever, you know, I'm very handsy. And so Dr. Robyn sees me as well. Like I'm moving my hands like you guys can see me, but it is a very cyclical process. And your evolution in this, I think, secures the relatability and the rapport that you get to build with your clients and your ideal client partners is what I call them, that come into this new successful place in their lives where they are ready to curate more skill, just as you have done. You've curated different skills, certifications, all the things to make sure that you were prepared to hold space for them and not just falling on the laurels of your own lived experience, which has merit for sure, but isn't the only thing that could help to really wrap around someone who is shaking from the way anxiety has lessened the quality of their life, the quality of their experiences, made it hard for them to stand in front of a boardroom or to give a pitch deck for their new, beautiful entrepreneurial journey, whatever it is that they're doing for the diversity of clients that you serve. You're addressing something that can literally suffocate and strangle dreams if it's not addressed. And I personally applaud you as a clinician. I applaud you for that because God knows I don't want to do this work alone. It's 8 billion people. Okay. Like, come on, link arms. And you're doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It's really hard to tell your story when it hasn't been pretty. And not that every part of my journey was ugly. That's not true. I've had incredible, beautiful moments and memories, but that anxiety was definitely a very heavy weight that I've carried around for a very long time. And, I did it alone. Nobody else should have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And when we think of 31% of the adult population in the US experience anxiety, and 37% of those people don't get help, that's a lot of people carrying a lot of weight that is bringing them down and making them unhappy and preventing them from taking bold and courageous action to move their life and or business forward. So if I can help anyone achieve the clarity and confidence to step into what they're being called for, to me, that's just an honor to be able to get to do that.
Yeah. And you and I were talking in the green room before we got started, because we are old school colleagues. So we had a lot to catch up on. And we were talking about the fact that you're not trying, you're doing. I see you show up, on LinkedIn and Instagram and the various places, and you're gifting people with your honesty, with vulnerability, with information, with support, with motivation. And you are really doing, and that's just the public facing part of what you're doing. That doesn't include what's happening behind the scenes, and with your private clients and with your group clients and your corporate clients and the various ways that you work with people. And so I know that there's a lot more tangible tools that go to that. And I think about all that you have to put in personally to be able to show up so powerfully in public. You mentioned, struggling yourself with anxiety. I know I have definitely dealt with it many occasions, whether it was medically related or just overwhelmed from a very full plate that was spewing out the sides. One of my clients calls them spinning plates, right? Like when you're spinning all the plates and don't want to drop anything and you're holding them with your pinky toe and all of it in between. But you also are a wife and a mother, and you sit on boards and you volunteer and you have charities. And there's a lot of other places that you have to show up to that you can't hide, and you can't hide your anxiety. And so I know a lot of people listening to this here at the Balance Bully Show are wondering, okay, Dr. Robyn, what did you learn from writing this book? Like, what did it give you back? Because you already had tools and things from your own therapy and, the other way that you were curating your skills. But in the writing, you and I both know you relive a lot of those experiences again, and you feel it in your body. What happened for you as you were reflecting, completing a chapter or a series of chapters along the way?
Oh, that is such a beautiful question. And I have to say the biggest thing that happened was grace. I gave myself grace because as I was writing, and I'm a scientist. I've done a lot of work in psychology. But when you are talking about yourself, you often don't recognize exactly what certain things, emotions, feelings, experiences actually meant until you revisit them later from a different perspective. And it was almost like looking back at who I was when I was younger and giving that person grace to eliminate the shame, that it was okay that that's who I was, that I was this anxious, introverted child who had trouble with relationships, who, struggled, couldn't speak on stages or in front of a classroom. And, all of these things that not being able to do what everybody else did because I was so afraid.
Yeah.
And, looking back, did I make dumb decisions? Yeah. And a lot of that was related to that social anxiety that I experienced in addition to, generalized anxiety. But the reality is my walk has served a purpose. Yeah. And every part of my journey has led me right to where I am today to be able to have a deeper impact and serve other people, which is what I know I've been called to do. So looking back, that is the biggest thing that I learned, was that it's okay to be me, and that God created me to be me. Yeah. So I'm okay with being me.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a gift when we can realize that with all of our, spots and quirks and different things that we think are wrong with us, we actually still can be remarkable, amazing humans and members of society.
Absolutely. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking specifically of a group of women that I was just with recently, where this, permission to be yourself, if you will, was kind of coming up. And a lot of what stands in the way of accepting that from, the 30 plus years at this point of being a clinical social worker, psychotherapist, trauma specialist, all the hats that I still hold, it really comes down to being able to be by yourself and listening to yourself. And you and I were talking a little bit about, we were talking a lot, y'all, in the green room, just by, FYI. But we were also having a conversation about listening. And that's what was shared with me recently. And I never heard it put this way. It's scary to hear your truth. And when this particular woman out of the small group said it, all of them nodded their head and was like, yes, 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 it is scary. And I said, wait a minute. I've never actually heard it put that way. It's scary to hear your truth saying it's okay to be this way. It's okay to, not lean into other people's expectations. It's okay to not want to go to that party because maybe your anxiety is at an 8 right now. And that's not something you have to do. So maybe this is a time for you to ground or to do some of the other work that you can do to bring yourself down, at least to a 4, and then see if you want to, step yourself into exposure and social situations, but take care of you. Be #intentionally selfish. Be selfish right now and take care of you so you can get yourself on your feet. But I never heard that before. It's scary to hear your truth. And everything you're saying is you were able to hear yourself. You were able to hear God speaking to you. You were able to hear what you had to say, what you were dealing with. So you could say, ultimately, your outcome was, I am me and I am proud to be me, flaws and all. I'm going to fold in what I need to fold in, and I'll fix what needs to be fixed because I recognize I'm not perfect. Like I heard you say all of those things just now. And I know this comes up for your clients and who you're working with when they may not use the framing that I never heard of. I'm scared to hear my own truth, but it's basically coming out when they're saying, hey, I can't get this business to where I want it to go. And I'm stuck and I don't know why. So I would love for you to share a little, if you can, about what's happening in the world when you're hearing your clients have a version of, I'm scared to hear my own truth. Stop them from being able to progress forward through their anxiety.
Yeah. I love this question, Nikita, because so many people are afraid to step into their own business and represent their business and be the front facing person of their business. But even beyond that, we live in a hustle culture, and hustle is not necessarily a bad thing. It's like you said before, you're not trying, you're doing.
Yeah.
When we have a hustle mentality, we are going to do and we're going to strive to do, which is actually a good thing if you want to be successful. However, when we succumb to what the world's version of hustle is, being on every platform, doing all the things, buying every online course, hiring every coach, striving to make $1 million, we're not all meant to do all of these things or to make the same amount of money. We're all predestined to work with the certain people that we can help beautifully and help them create the outcomes they want, right? We're not meant to do what everybody in our niche is doing. And so if we can reframe our thoughts and believe that our journey makes us unique and gives us the unique tools and experiences and expertise and the authority to step into what we do, then we can serve the people that we're meant to serve. And the one thing I always say is put your phone down, step away from social media.
Come on.
Because it is causing you to be distracted. It's causing you to compare yourself. It's causing you to buy senseless things you don't need to buy for your business, because you can simplify. And when you simplify and remove the distractions, you can focus on your belief for yourself, your business, your clients, and what you are capable of achieving and what your clients are capable of achieving. And so one of the big focuses in my business is just that. We start with mindset, we create strategies, and we take action. But we do it without an emphasis on social media. And that's completely intentional.
I love, like, snaps to that. I love this for so many reasons. One, I support everything you're saying, and I completely 1000% agree. I will disconnect from social in a heartbeat if I feel like it's eating up more of my energy or time than I need. But I've created my business so that I can do that. And I know that it's not always a possibility. So I don't take away, because there was a time when I didn't have that option. But I hear you saying, reframe the way that you work in the pockets that you can. You may not be able to, if you currently have a 9-to-5 and you're working on your business, you might feel like you're stretched to traditional hustle culture expectations because of the way you have to, work and get the hours in. But there's a way that you get to grow and sustain your business without you ending up in the hospital with an IV in your arm. There's a way that you can do this without melting on the bathroom floor because you had multiple back-to-back anxiety attacks because you kept trying to force yourself to do something that actually isn't even in alignment with what you need to do for your business. To your point, Dr. Robyn, not everyone needs to have face to camera in their business for whatever the product or service is that they're selling. Or maybe you don't need to do it as often or in that way. Like there's other ways to do it. So having a guide, like Dr. Robyn Graham, or whoever is in your circle that you trust, and not just because they tell you nice things about the way you look, or they say good job, but not understand your business, but really can understand you and your context, your family dynamic, your energy, your time level, and your business model, allowing a guide to help you shortcut through those things that you would basically keep failing into a sunken hole for. Ultimately, I do believe that if you're destined to do something, you will get there. But you can take the long road there, or you can take the shortcut road there. Like we've all seen those webinars, right? Like which road do you want to take? Like we've all seen a million of them. And out of so many of those webinars, I would say that's probably the consistent truth for all of them. Do it alone. And yes, eventually get there, but be exhausted, emotionally broke, distraught, have relationship challenges that didn't need to be there because of the burden that exhaustion has put on your relationship of self and others, especially in a partnership, on your parenting, trickling down anxiety to your kids, like all of the things the long way, or you can have a guide and do a shortcut. Doesn't mean that you will be exempt from storms, because life is lifing all the time, but you can get to where you need to be without all of the unnecessary normal. As I tell people all the time, normal is not necessary. Like you do not have to be normal.
No. And I think, we tend to follow cultural norms, and the secular society that we live in, it is full of chaos. And you really, truly can build a business and have that balance in your life with simplicity, ease, and grace.
Yes.
And it really does become a choice to pound the pavement, so to speak, and do all these things DIY, or try to, do all these different mini programs instead of one massive person to be in your business with you, alongside you, holding you up, giving you the support, holding you accountable, all of those things. It really does make a difference in terms of the speed that you achieve results, and whether it's complicated or simplified.
Mic drop moment on so many levels. Okay. So I have to ask you, because you gave so many nuggets and so much value, period. Like I could leave it there, but I have to ask you my favorite signature question. How do you give yourself permission to pause?
My permission to pause always involves devotions, journaling, and reading. And that is every single day how I have to start my day, with a side of exercise. but that's literally how I pause to connect with myself and to listen, so that I know what steps to take, what actions to take, and what's going to move me forward, both personally and professionally.
Yeah. So you can hear your truth. I hear that on multiple levels. I love that. You're fueling yourself. You're nourishing yourself. You're shaping yourself, right? Detoxifying with the exercise and all of it. And all of this gives you more clarity and less noise. I think that's the word or phrasing that I'm looking for. Like there's less noise. Yes. You're tearing away the noise from the outside world when you do that.
Yes.
So it's your own remedy of sorts. So you can truly hear your truth and not be afraid of it when you do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
to be
powerful.
Able to step into it.
Yeah.
And it keeps the anxiety at bay.
Yes.
Or minimized.
Yes. I love this so much. So Dr. Robyn, tell everyone how they can connect with you and get more.
The best place to find me is my website. You can access everything about me there, including the podcast and additional free resources. So it's therobyngraham.com. And I'm sure, you'll have all of that in the show notes.
Yes, I'm putting all the things, the podcast, the Dr. Robyn Graham show, like all of it. Everything will be there. The link to the book. We're very serious about it because, I support my people all day long. Yes. I'm so grateful that you carved out extra time because we had a nice, deep green room conversation before we even push record. Thank you so much. I'm honored by your time always as a colleague, as a friend, as an expert in the field that's doing so much work supporting the next generation and beyond. Thank you for showing up truly as who you are and listening to your truth.
Well, thank you for having me. As you know, I love and adore you, and I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. I know, guys, I have to stop patting myself on the back. I told myself that I would stop doing that at the end of shows that were like this awesome, but it's hard. I have to do it again. I promise that you will always hear honesty, vulnerability, authenticity, transparency, integrity from every single potent human that I bring forth, because that is all that I attract and all that I allow. And I'm so grateful that you stayed and you listened and you played with us. So I have to ask humbly 2 small favors. First, as you were listening to all that Dr. Robyn Graham shared with you through her vulnerability, through her truth, and what she's sharing and doing through her book in the world for people, I want you to think of at least one person that you can share this episode with. Think about them. Literally get ready to copy the link from whatever podcast app you're listening to this to and share it without context. Just say something like, heard this show, thought of you, let me know what you think. Keep it simple and plain. Don't project your thoughts onto them and set them up for something that they may not truly understand or connect to, because you were in this conversation with us. You understand the context. So I just want you to gift this to someone, even if you know that they clearly are struggling with anxiety or anything of the sort. Just share it. You don't have to say because of your anxiety. Just please do me that one favor. And then second, if you are not already a subscriber of the Balanced Bully podcast, please click that so you get all the notifications and you know every single week when we are here versus when we take a 6-week self-lovecation micro sabbatical and do People's Choice favorite episodes. So make sure you do that for me as well. Outside of that, I want you to enjoy the balance of your day, but remember, do it boldly.